Now batting, number 17, Elliot Ramos.
All right, here we go. Big situation. Ducks on the pond. We can put him away for good right here, baby. Get him out of Camilo range. Maybe even get him out of Walker range. Just remember what Coach Burrell told you.
Okay, Elliot, you're going to want to approach this at-bat like a parabola. Your swing path should be peak right at the vertex of the meatball. Keep your hands at a 37-degree launch vector, but don't let your exit velocity outpace your internal tempo. Remember, if your y-intercept is too shallow, you're just a broken graph on the chalkboard of failure. And when you get on base, don't forget to shake your...
But zooms. Meatball. Shallow y-intercept. Chalkboard of failure. Got it. Okay, here we go. Here's the pitch. Did that old man just throw me a first pitch slider at the top of the zone? He's got to hang a lot of those, right? Remember what Coach told you.
Breathe. Center yourself, kid. The ball is merely a suggestion. You give it purpose. Channel the energy from your cleats through your hips and into the bat like a lightning rod of destiny. Let go of judgment. Let go of doubt. Let go of trying to hit curveballs. They're illusions. And when you get on base, shake your
chest area. Oh, here it comes. Oh, it's a fatty. It's hanging, but it's outside. Adjust the attack angle.
All right, son. Forget batting average. That's dead. I want you to think in barrels per batted thought. Visualize hard contact with a 95 plus EV adjusted for humidity. Don't swing unless your expected slug is higher than your ex-girlfriend's credit score. And remember, never chase below the knees unless it's spiritually fulfilling. And then shake your
melons. Bam! Oh, I got it! That's two! Run, 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 run. Oh, ease up, ease up. Yeah, boys! Weird Dominican pop song thing! Yeah, boys! Wait, I'm forgetting something. Oh, hey, Pat! Watch me shake my...
Fun bags.
Welcome to Giant Cocktails, where the losses hurt, but the cocktails help. Here are your hosts, Ben and Matthew Henry.
Welcome to another episode of Giant Cocktails, episode number 304. Ben, Willie Mays hit 304 over his Giants career that spanned from 1952 to 1972, which means I was born and alive when Willie Mays was a Giant. I don't know if I should be bragging about that.
I was going to say, that just means you're super old, dude.
Yeah, the words were coming out of my mouth. I'm like, that's not something you want to be proud of. Don't admit that.
Yeah, you sounded so gleeful. You're like, I was alive when Willie was playing.
That means I'm really old.
Yeah? Are you proud that you were alive when Cy Young was playing?
Enough with the banter. Let's talk cocktails.
Yes, Bob. It's cocktail time.
What are you drinking, Matthew?
Bob, I'm drinking an improved tequila cocktail. I'll tell you why it's improved at the end of the episode.
What are you drinking, Ben?
That must be the most basic name we've ever done. And the one I'm drinking is pretty basic. Because I'm bringing back one that I did earlier in the year, and that's because I just didn't have time. And I do have a lot of this spiced bourbon left. So I am drinking a spiced ginger highball. And that's what I'm drinking, Bob. You can find out what's in it at the end of the episode, but you might already know because this is a retread. My apologies. I was spending too much time watching the Giants lose to the Marlins.
Well, speaking of that, today is Wednesday, June 25th. As we record this podcast, we're recording a little later than usual because we're trying to get the Giants game to be done. Ben last week had predicted that the Giants would lose one and barely win one by the time we came back around. And he was wrong, it appears. Because
No. The game is not over. That could still happen. And if they do win, it'll be exactly like I said.
This is true. Okay, we are still in line for Ben to be his prediction to be correct. So I don't want to say all the records and stuff. You know the record. The record is now maybe one game in front of the of the Padres, or maybe they're tied with the Padres. We don't know. But anyway, it's against the Marlins, and we should be just bumping the crap out of them. And I will say, through the first 17 innings, the Giants are being out hit 22-8. So what are we going to talk today? Well, we're going to talk a little bit about this Marlins fiasco. And then there was a lot of things that happened between Sunday and today that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about, frankly, Ben, we're going to talk about Justin Verlander, because
What?
You know, Justin couldn't go back to his supermodel wife and his new kid for all I care. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. And then there were some other Giants moves that we got to talk about as well. And we're going to do that. So first, though, did you know, Ben? And this might be not a great time to bring this up, considering that Tyler Rogers just got Tylered. But the Giants going in today had 3 relievers in the top 5 in ERA in all of baseball. With Randy Rodriguez second at 0.75, Eric Miller third at 1.03, and Tyler Rogers fifth at 1.24 minimum 20 innings pitched, which is pretty amazing. That's a pretty damn good bullpen.
Yeah, Matthew, I'm realizing you wrote these notes down before Tyler got Tylered.
I did.
Okay. Well, at least now I have somebody to blame. Because you can't blame Tyler. Like, he throws the ball, they swing, they make light contact, and it kind of goes where it goes. Okay? Most of the time, it goes into a guy's glove. Although he is striking out a lot of guys, and he almost got out of it. He almost pulled off a Spencer Bivens. But he didn't. Anyway, but no, that's not what this is about. I mean, I was honestly, Matthew, I just saw Eric Miller's ERA flash up on the screen yesterday as I was watching the game, and I looked at it and I was like, 103? When did he let it get above 1? What a slacker.
Poor guy.
103, that's pretty ridiculous, dude. That's pretty ridiculous. 075? Okay,
that's
Matthew,
just crazy number.
do you realize what is going to happen at the end of the Marlins series? You know where we're going to be in the season?
We will be halfway through the season, Ben.
That is correct. Nobody else is going to tell you that, folks. Nobody else is going to tell you that. They're all going to lie to you, right? They're all going to talk about how it's still the first half because the All-Star game hasn't happened. And it's clearly not the second half of the season because July 1st hasn't come yet. But no, the second half of the season starts on Friday. And to have a reliever with an ERA of 0.75 and another one with 1.03 is amazing. I can't tell you what Tyler's was because I don't know what it is now. But
Randy Rodriguez is lower than 0.75 now.
Oh, that's true. That's true. And
and Eric Miller's is lower than 1.01 now, or 3 or whatever it was.
Oh, maybe he got below 2.
Below 1.
I mean, yeah, that's what I meant. Maybe he got below 1. All right. Also, Matthew, before we talk about the next tidbit, we have a segment. We do things by segments. The first segment is always the series, and then the second segment, we always give it a name. Sometimes we tell you guys what the name is, and sometimes we don't. And today, Matthew didn't. Last week, we did a hot and cold, but it was really a hot and cold because I'm me. This week, we're doing a cold and cold segment.
Cold and cold. That's
cold
right.
And cold. Verlander and Fitzgerald. And on that point, Matthew, do you remember when we got Rafael Devers and the world was exciting and new?
Oh, those were the days.
You know, it was very Love Boat-like.
It was.
Well, that was.
It was exciting and new, man.
Talk about aging yourself. My goodness. No, that isn't like a new reality series. Although it could be.
It could be. We could bring that one back.
Like, Devers has been here for a little over a week, and it feels a lot like the old offense, Matthew. It feels like the old offense. Like like when Christian Koss is the only guy who can drive in runs against the Marlins.
Editor's note: we tried. We tried to watch the ninth inning and do the podcast at the same time, and we failed miserably. So we stopped recording to watch the ninth inning and watch Christian Koss line out to third base to end the ninth and start the ill-fated extra innings. And we now pick up after that final out in the ninth inning. We were talking about the post-Devers...
Segment's over. The Giants' offense sucks since we got Devers is what I was trying to say, Matthew. What I was trying to say. But see, like, that's what I'm talking about. That's why you can't count them out, right?
That's right. That's right. They always scrappiness.
Don't count Ben out, okay? Don't count out my predictions.
Pat Bailey, man, just delivers RBIs after the seventh inning, man. That's crazy.
Right. That's right. Well, often they're go-ahead RBIs. I am.
Yeah. Well, he's got almost as many RBIs after the seventh inning as he does before the seventh inning in his entire career, which is crazy.
Which is statistically improbable. Yes. Agreed. Hey, Matthew, it's time for us to talk about the Marlins series, which I guess we're doing.
Yeah, I guess. Just it's so hard to do it in the middle of a game, but game one, Bivens and Koss. Moving on.
What?
They both did good things. They were about the only ones. Let's just.
Well, yeah, I mean that's true. Because we are going to talk about Justin Verlander, but we dedicated a whole segment to him. So we can't really talk about him because it was really that game that sort of sealed the deal. That's why we're talking about Justin Verlander today. And I feel like a lot of ways, well, yes. But I do want to call out Christian Koss because, Christian had a very good run earlier in the season where he started hitting the ball. He was hitting the ball with authority, where you felt like he was a good guy to have coming up in critical situations like we just saw. And he's hitting the ball hard, like he just did. Unfortunately, he hit it right at a guy today. But, he had the grand slam. And then I felt like they stopped going to him. And maybe that's because people were healthy or whatever. And then he just sort of regressed, and then he got sent down. And he was down for a day? 2 or 3 days? And Chapman got hurt. And so, here comes Christian Koss back to the team. And now he looks like he's trying to stake that claim on the bench. Christian Koss is on the team and Tyler Fitzgerald isn't.
That's kind of crazy. I didn't have that on my bingo card, that's for sure.
No. And Patrick Bailey's heroics that we just witnessed as we record this podcast notwithstanding, he was the only guy who was getting RBIs in this series. So I do want to call him out, especially when he's the only guy performing well offensively. And he's not the only guy, but he's the only guy getting the hits when there's runners on base. And so that was, I just wanted to call out that performance, not just in game one, but also in game two. I also wanted to talk about the fact that I'm not liking that they're showing Casey Schmidt on the screen grabbing the top of his
wincing
hand
while he grabs his hand. Yeah, that's not a good thing.
While he's on defense. And he's poking at it.
It'll be a little sore. Hopefully that's all it is.
Oh, man. Anyway, sorry. I do want to point out Spencer Bivens' performance in game one. It was really quite something. He got himself into a bit of trouble with some early at-bat hits. But then the man went to work and struck out the next two batters with some really crafty pitching, right? This wasn't like he was just blowing guys away. This was a guy who was working the strike zone, getting guys to chase, and playing the chess match of the Major League Baseball at bat. And then, he got a little bit lucky, as pitchers always do, with a deep drive to center field that landed in Jung-Hoo Lee's glove. And just like that, Spencer Bivens put the fear of, worse defeat than we ended up experiencing into our hearts and then took it away. So at least we could have an entertaining inning in what was otherwise a very disappointing and drab loss in the purple pushover uniforms once again. Christian,
bring back the creamsicles. Bring them back.
Seriously. Have we talked about what their record is? I don't think we have. I don't think I've heard anybody talk about it. I don't think it's good.
No, I think they've only won like once.
Yeah. And then that brings us to tonight's game, Matthew, which we are still watching. And Camilo doing his thing.
Camilo, torture baseball.
Oh man, it's hard to record when there's extra innings on. I got to tell you, it is really hard. We don't like to record too late because it gets super late and we have to do the editing, and sometimes that can be a bigger chore than it might seem. Sometimes one of us forgets to send the other the file because he passes out.
That.
Sometimes they send us the wrong file.
That too. Yeah. Sometimes, there's lots of Bobisms and we got to figure that out.
That too. All right. So what happened in game 2, Matthew? Well, the Giants got Tylered. They got Tyler Rogers did.
Tyler Rogers did. Yes, they did.
And then they mounted their ninth inning rally, which had been a big theme of the first third of this season. And now Camilo is doing the Camilo thing. So, and that's where we are. That's literally where we are as we record this podcast.
All right. Well, while we're like suffering over the Giants, and maybe we'll kind of give another update as we go along. I want to unleash my anger at somebody else, Ben.
What did I do now? Not
you.
Oh.
Yet. I got another bone to pick
this time
with Justin Verlander, who is winless in 12 starts, Ben.
Yeah.
He is the first Giant starting pitcher to go 12 winless starts to start a season. Not San Francisco Giants pitcher. But according to our friend Andy Baggerly on The Athletic in his article today, Justin Verlander is the first Giant starting pitcher to go 12 winless starts to start a season.
But Matthew, the Giants were playing baseball in the 1800s. Are you sure about this?
I'm going with Andy. I think, he kind of, Bags knows his stuff, and I'm going to believe him. And he's also in those 12 starts. Oh man. Another quarter of the games he's played again have been against the Rockies, the Marlins, the A's, and now and then next up is the White Sox, right? So he's got 3 out of the 12 games has been against Rockies, Marlins, and Athletics. So if he doesn't win against the White Sox, it may be time to say goodbye to Mr. Verlander.
I agree. They won't. I still don't believe. Nothing that they have done makes me think that this team is different than that they very, very much care about taking care of players and doing right by players. Now, yes, they have to cut guys when they're not performing well. Yes, they did something very, very unexpected when they went and traded for Devers, but I think the Devers move just proves that this regime is even more player-oriented than I thought. I don't think the Giants will cut Justin Verlander. Not now, not any time before the end of the season.
Okay,
I just don't think they will.
You're probably right. And they're going to point to certain things. So to be fair, it hasn't all been Verlander's fault. There have been some games where he's pitched well enough to win. I think he's left with a lead a couple of times, and our number one bullpen blew it for him. And then there's the offense. The Giants have averaged 2 runs per game in 12 starts. So they've scored 24 runs in his 12 starts, which is the 3rd lowest for any starting pitcher in baseball. So I feel like the Giants are going to point to that. They're going to talk to his improved fastball. His fastball is getting faster as the season has gone And then also, it's not like with Harrison being traded, it's not like they have a lot of depth behind Verlander, because there's also Landon Roop is nearing his the most pitches he's ever thrown, in a season is coming up. And so are they going to be concerned about that? Yes, we have Carson Whisenhunt in the minors, who got lit up today, by the way. But there's only so much depth that you can get. So maybe they're going to keep him for that. But then you also look at some of the numbers, Ben, and they're not good. You can't really put lipstick on this pig. I mean, he's got a 4.52 ERA with an expected ERA of even worse, 5.09. Are you choking? Are you okay?
I used lipstick on the pig, man. I was mid-sip.
All right. Well, and then he's striking out fewer, 19.4%. This year versus 27.4% in his career. And he's walking more, 8.6% versus 6.1%. And league average is 22%. And he's below league average in strikeouts. He's above league average in walks. And so you put all that together, he's a below average pitcher. He's not the number 2 that we signed him to be. He's not even the number 4. He's barely the number 5. And so I'm just getting sick of this, because we don't really have a lot of wiggle room right now. And I don't know how much longer you keep just hoping this guy turns it around. If this was a guy with options, he would have been optioned by now. If this was a guy who doesn't have a Hall of Fame resume, he would have been gone by now. So I'm a little frustrated, and I just need this to be figured out. Buster.
I'm telling you, I don't think they're going to figure it out. We're going to suffer through this through the rest of the season. And this is Buster, never sign a guy like this again. Never sign a guy like this again if you cannot cut him when you need to.
Well, right. And I think, the Giants over the years have had some, they've signed some veteran starters, but they didn't put all their eggs in that basket. And I feel like, I don't know. I just feel like this is beyond, let's let it wait it out. You're trying to win. You're trying to get into the playoffs. And every time he comes in, he's not putting the team in the best position. Well, and I'm tired of it. Yeah,
no, I am too. But here's the thing. They're not going to do anything about it. They're not going to do anything about it. I just don't believe that they will. I just don't. They're not going to do anything because of his name. And they don't have to cut him, right? And I think a lot of people will be like, oh, his numbers don't warrant cutting him. Yeah. At some point, results have to matter. Okay, they still count in the standings. Okay, I know we have all of these statistics, and a lot of them tell stories that we don't necessarily see from the results. But at some point, those statistics, those secondary numbers, have to lead to good results. Otherwise, you're just an idiot. So I'm not saying your obsession with the weenus is bad, but when you're using it to protect a guy because of his name and what he's done for other teams years ago, that's a significant problem. And here's the problem. They don't even have to cut him. They could put him in the bullpen, right? That's a thing that happens to starters all the time. But I feel like they would never. I think that's as unlikely as them cutting him. And on a more serious note, Matthew, I felt pretty, I felt pretty. Well, I'm not going to lie. I felt pretty smart about myself when I said 6 was high. Right? We did a prediction at the beginning of the season.
We did.
How many games is Verlander going to win? You said something ridiculous like 10.
Yep, I did.
And I said 6. And then I immediately followed that up with, that sounds high. 6 sounds high. And for the first half of the season, I've been like, wow, I was pretty spot on. Now, I thought this was going to be because of injury, and he did have a little bit of that. I didn't think it was because he was going to be completely and totally ineffective. But now we're getting to the point where he's not even going to do 6. And I'm going to miss my estimate. And that pisses me off. At this point, like, if he were to win 6 games now, he would be on pace for 12 games for the entire season. And that sounded laughable to me at the beginning of the season. In order for him to reach 6 wins, that's what he has to do for the rest of the season. His next start is in the second half. So, like, I don't know. Like, I don't, I feel very much about him like I do about Blake Snell last year. I want to stop talking about him. I don't want to talk about Justin Verlander anymore.
If we don't, then maybe he'll do what Justin Verlander did and actually have a good second half.
You mean do what Blake Snell did? Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yes, do what Blake Snell did.
Maybe. I don't. That doesn't seem plausible to me.
No, it doesn't. I'm just looking at his page. I mean, Giants have only won 4 out of his 12 starts. Their team well over 500. So this tells you that, it's like a black hole there. He's only averaging a little over 5 innings per outing. So barely even giving them any innings. And so I think there are better options.
Well, of course there are. We all know that. And I know you said Carson Wisdom had a bad start. Everybody has a bad start from time to time.
Yeah, they do.
I don't think that means anything. I think the Giants have a lot of pitching depth still, right? Now, yes, some guys are hurt, but there's all the Carsons. There are a lot of guys down there that could start games. And I don't think they're in a situation where they don't have anybody else. But that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, Matthew, because they're not going to do anything about it. They're not going to do anything about it. And I don't see, I think every performance is just okay-ish, that they can always have a reason to be like, well, let's try this one more time. And it's to the point now where I look at Justin Verlander and say, you know what, Matthew? After he gives up those 3 or 4 runs in the first 3 innings, he really settles down. And that's every game. But anyway, I think the point is we're beating a dead horse or pitcher. I hope I'm wrong. Or I hope you're wrong and that he turns it around. And I hope I'm wrong that they won't get rid of him. I hope one or both of those is true. But for now, we're just going to have to suffer through it. Just like Tyler Fitzgerald is going to have to suffer through getting sent down.
Well, I would argue, now that we're switching gears and talking about Tyler Fitzgerald being optioned, I would argue that Tyler Fitzgerald, the reason that he was sent down was because the Giants still believed in him. I think, you send a guy down sometimes because you don't want him on your club, I think, or you send him down to work things out to bring him back. And I feel like that's what they did in this case. We know that Tyler Fitzgerald has had success. We know what he can do, especially when you compare him to someone like Wisely and Koss, right? Who are his 2 other kind of comps in that middle infield thing. So I feel like them sending him down is probably a good thing overall. Help him get some at bats, help him in a non-pressure situation. And then maybe he turns it around and comes back and helps and joins the club and helps the team down the stretch. I think that's the ideal situation there.
Well, I think this is the first guy to get sent down. Well, that's not true. I just remembered Luis Matos. But yeah, I mean, this is one of the few roster moves that they have made where the change is about trying to help that player than it is about making the team better, right? And I guess that's really the move that they're making, right? When they sent Matos down, it was because Gerardo came back. Right when they DFA'd Lamont Wade Jr., by the way, who had a 2-game hitting streak with multiple hits in one of those games. Finally, it happened for the Angels. But anyway, in that particular case, they were bringing in Dom Smith and Daniel Nick Johnson to try to spark the team, to get better. And because they just couldn't, take it anymore. And so this was really the first move where a guy got sent down, because Fitzgerald got sent down when Verlander came off of the paternity list, and they already had multiple middle infielders on the team because Brett Wisely had come up when Verlander went down. So it wasn't a one-to-one switch between Wisely and Wisely and Fitzgerald. But I think the telling thing for me was that Fitzgerald needs a break was the 2 sacrifice bunts that he put down in the Red Sox series. Right? And you and I had some discussion as to whether or not those were called for from the bench. But you made a good point, which is it kind of doesn't matter. Right? Like, if Fitzgerald is making those decisions, then that means he's lost all confidence.
And if Bob Melvin is calling those, then Bob Melvin has lost confidence.
Right. And which case,
so either way, he's got to go down and get it worked out.
Right. And I think that's totally plausible and possible. And I think if that's what the Giants are telling you, this regime is telling you, then that's what this means. Now, of course, you have to go down there and turn it around, which, after one game, he's done that, right? The first game, he got 2 hits. So, but it's going to take more than, he's got to be down there at least for 10 days. So,
well, unless there's an injury, and we just saw
that's true. That's
holding
true.
His hand he could be back at the end of this game.
He could be back tomorrow. Okay, for those of you keeping score at home, Matthew and I have just watched this game come to its miserable end, wherein we may have lost even more than the game and suffered a very unsatisfying defeat. We may have also lost Casey Schmidt, who was visibly uncomfortable holding on to his hand through the end of that game. Anyway, I mean, this team's got problems, but, I don't know, man. Every time we say that, they turn around and they go on a winning streak, and they pull even further away from everybody else behind them. And it's not like this stuff isn't happening to everybody else in the league as well. The team that's 2 games in front of the Giants right now in the wild card standings, well, I guess it's 2.5 at this point after that loss, is the New York Mets. They're 47.
Started off on fire and then have really cooled off. Huh?
Well, they're 47 and 34 right now, Matthew. They're 13 games over 500. Before today, they were 1 for their last 9.
Jeez.
So this was a team that was dominating the National League and then has gone into an absolute tailspin, which says, A, this can happen to anybody at any point in the season, and B, that, other things happen to other teams, and luckily that seems to have been true for the entire season for the Giants. And so even though they're now only 8 games over 500, they're still in a very good spot. There's still a lot of good things about this team. And maybe Tyler Fitzgerald will go down and get better and come back and make the team even better. Maybe Casey Schmidt just has a bone bruise or just a regular bruise.
Just a flesh wound.
Exactly. And maybe Justin Verlander is the closer we've been thinking we had all along. What do you think? Justin?
I don't think that's...
No, you don't think...
You're stretching a little bit there. I think, it's a little bit of a reach.
Smoltz was a starter, turned into a closer.
But Smoltz actually threw hard.
He's crafty. He's crafty.
Crafty. That's true.
Crafty closer.
That's true. He's crafty. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well.
No.
Yeah. Maybe. No. I think you're stretching it there. I think you're stretching it.
Do you think we could convince the Giants of that? He could be your closer.
Anyway, I think it's time to move on. Upcoming opponents. Well, we still got one more Marlin game, and Ben, we better frickin' win that game.
Okay, yeah, well, I didn't predict that the Giants would get swept. I predicted they would win the series after a close victory, which I almost got. I was one Willie Adames extra weedy away, or one less. I don't know. Whatever he did today, but everything he did was just half a centimeter wrong.
Well, tomorrow we got Hayden Birdsong on the mound. Caw-caw! Caw-caw! Against an all-time baseball name, Jansen Junk.
Jansen Junk. Nice.
Jansen Junk on the mound for the Marlins. So we'll see. It's a day game. The Giants play really well in day games. So maybe they got a shot there. And then we travel. We have an off day on Thursday. We travel to Chicago, the Windy City, to play the White Sox. And I would like to say that that's a time we'll get healthy and start winning some games, but I'm not really feeling it. Don't really feel like that's something I should be saying right now. You would like to think that a team that's 26-55 and last year had one of the worst seasons all time, that we'd be able to roll in there to a team that has 3-7 in their last 10 games and has a negative 82 run differential, that we should just blow through them. But like I said, I'm not feeling it. You never know with this team. I'm just going to cross my fingers and hope.
I mean, why can't they beat the bad teams? Why can't they beat the bad teams?
I don't know. Because it would be too interesting. It wouldn't be interesting enough, I guess, or something. I don't know.
Isn't it time for the booze, boys?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's time for the booze.
What are you drinking, Matthew?
Well, I drank it a long time ago, Bob, at this point. But it was an improved tequila cocktail. And when they say improved, this is an old, it's a riff on a improved whiskey cocktail, which is an old time recipe, which basically was an improvement, quote unquote, on the old fashioned. And in those times, improvement it wasn't that it made it better. It was that there was an addition to, and there was some liqueur being added to the improved whiskey cocktail. So in this case, we're taking a tequila old fashioned and we're improving it with another ingredient. So what's in an improved tequila cocktail? Well, it's got 2 ounces of Reposado Tequila. And actually for this last one, I pulled out some of my $145 Mexican Añejo tequila. And it was freaking delicious.
I mean,
anyway.
Okay.
2 ounces of Reposado or Añejo, if you got it. A bar spoon of Maraschino Liqueur. 1 bar spoon of Agave Syrup. 2 dashes of Chocolate Bitters. I'm using Chocolate Aztec Bitters, I think from Fee Brothers. And then 1 dash of Angostura Bitters and a lemon twist for garnish. You're going to add all your ingredients to a mixing glass with ice. Give it a good stir for 30 seconds until diluted and chilled. Strain that into a rocks glass with fresh ice, preferably a large block of ice. You're going to express some oil from your lemon twist over the drink and drop it into the glass. When you do that, you get these wonderful citrus notes when you bring it to your mouth, and the sweetness and the smoothiness of the Reposado tequila, and just a little hint of cherry in the background. It's very good. So that's what I'm drinking, Bob, an improved tequila cocktail.
That's a tasty cocktail.
Yeah, it is. I highly recommend it.
What are you drinking, Ben?
Well, thank you for asking, Bob. That's very kind of you. Bob, as I said at the top of the show, I'm drinking a retread, a cocktail recipe that I introduced earlier in the year because it's so easy to make, but I forgot how good this is. I love this thing. So what is it? It's a spiced bourbon ginger highball. You take 1.5 to 2 ounces of spiced bourbon that you spiced yourself. What you did was you opened up a full bottle of bourbon and you put in a bunch of spices. Look up recipes online. They're really easy to find. You really kind of can't go wrong if you follow any of them. You let that steep for 8 to 24 hours, and then you've got spiced bourbon. You put that over ice with 3 to 5 ounces of ginger beer, and it is absolutely delicious. It's so good. It's so good. Anyway, and that's what I'm drinking, Bob. A spiced bourbon ginger highball.
That's a tasty cocktail.
And that's a wrap. Thank you for joining us. We will be back on Monday when the season will be 84 games old. And we will be holding our second half kickoff event. There'll be predictions.
Ooh, it's an event.
Yeah.
An event.
Yeah.
Oh.
Predictions. Okay. Reviews. Cocktail recipes. Old men doing ridiculous things with words. If you can't wait that long to get your fix, feel free to find us on social media where we go by the username Giant Cocktails. You can also find us on YouTube at the same username. So run over there to like, subscribe, and comment. You can also comment on Spotify, which I check every 2 months. But most importantly, be sure to leave us a positive review, like 5-star positive, like 5 stars positive. Easy for me to say. On Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen that also supports downloads, that also supports reviews. Man, God, Matthew, it was great talking Giants with you. Until next time, I'm going to go pass out. Cheers, my friend.
Cheers, Ben. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the Giant Cocktails Podcast. Until next time, bottoms up.
You're not going to say anything?
Fun bags.
You're just going to leave me hanging, aren't you? I'm going to wake up in the morning to hear myself yank and shake my titties. I'm going to be very disappointed if I hear that word one time, though.
What word? Fun bags.
Yeah. Yes. That word. You know, they cut that out of the NBC. You know, they put all of the post-game interviews on the YouTube. You know, they cut that out, right?
Of course they did. Yes.